Anwar Ibrahim is one of Malaysia's most prominent political and economic figures, having served twice as finance minister, first under Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad in the 1990s, and again in his current role as Prime Minister, which he assumed in late 2022. Evaluating Anwar's economic performance involves examining both his historical contributions and recent actions, while comparing him with previous Malaysian leaders to determine if he truly stands out as the best economic manager for Malaysia. In the 1990s, Anwar Ibrahim was known globally as a respected finance minister. During his tenure, Malaysia enjoyed remarkable economic growth, with annual GDP increases averaging between 7% and 9%. This growth was primarily driven by exports, industrial expansion, and significant foreign investments. Anwar's policies attracted international praise, with Euromoney and Asiamoney magazines acknowledging him as one of the world's most effective finance ministers during that era. However, Anwar's tenure faced severe challenges when the 1997 Asian financial crisis hit. Initially favoring international monetary policies, he implemented strict austerity measures to stabilize Malaysia's finances. These measures included significant cuts to government spending, delaying large-scale infrastructure projects championed by Prime Minister Mahathir, and adopting market-friendly reforms. Although controversial, these actions helped Malaysia avoid a deeper crisis akin to neighboring Indonesia, but also contributed to an economic slowdown and political fallout, ultimately ending his term prematurely. Upon becoming Prime Minister in November 2022, Anwar inherited an economy recovering strongly from the COVID-19 pandemic, with GDP growth reaching 8.7% for the year. Despite this recovery, Anwar faced major economic challenges: high public spending, significant fiscal deficits, over 5% of GDP, and global economic uncertainty. Throughout 2023, growth moderated to around 4%, affected by the high interest rate environment in both global and local conditions. Under Anwar's current administration, fiscal policy has focused heavily on balancing Malaysia's budget. His government introduced fiscal consolidation measures, aiming to reduce the budget deficit from 5.6% of GDP in 2022 to around 4% by 2024. This effort included significant subsidy rationalization, transitioning from broad subsidies to targeted assistance for the low-income B40 groups. This strategy reduced Malaysia's subsidy bill considerably, saving billions, but also raised the cost of living for middle-income Malaysians, prompting criticism. In terms of monetary policy, Bank Negara Malaysia, Malaysia's central bank, maintained steady interest rates, around 3.0%, throughout most of Anwar's tenure due to manageable inflation levels, averaging approximately 2%. By late 2024, inflation had dropped below 2%, reflecting successful price control through prudent fiscal and monetary management. Anwar launched the ambitious New Industrial Master Plan 2030, NIMP 2030, emphasizing advanced technology, economic complexity, and sustainable development. His government introduced policies aimed at digital transformation, green technologies, and attracting high-value foreign direct investment (FDI). This vision aligns with global economic trends, positioning Malaysia to compete internationally in tech and renewable energy industries. Additionally, Anwar's administration unveiled the National Energy Transition Roadmap (NETR) in 2023, aiming to accelerate Malaysia's shift to renewable energy and green industries through targeted tax incentives and financial support. One of the strongest indicators of Anwar's economic management success has been the surge in foreign and domestic investment. In 2024, Malaysia recorded its highest ever approved investments, totaling 378.5 billion ringgit, approximately $83 billion. Foreign direct investment alone accounted for 170.4 billion ringgit, indicating strong international investor confidence. Major foreign investments came from the United States, Germany, China, and Singapore, particularly targeting high-tech industries like electronics, electric vehicles, EV, and renewable energy. Anwar's government faced substantial political and public pressure over rising living costs. His decision to significantly reduce blanket subsidies on essential items, including fuel and electricity, was contentious. Although economically prudent, it increased household expenses for many middle-class Malaysians. To mitigate this, Anwar increased minimum wages and civil servant salaries and introduced targeted financial aid, effectively balancing economic necessity with social responsibility. Trade policy under Anwar remained actively pro-globalization. Malaysia ratified the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, CPTPP, and began talks to join the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, RCEP. Anwar also worked towards strengthening trade ties with major economic powers, including negotiations for a Malaysia-EU free trade agreement. Anwar's pragmatic approach was particularly evident in his handling of trade tensions with the US, choosing diplomatic engagements over confrontational actions. This approach maintained Malaysia's critical export relationships while navigating complex geopolitical dynamics, particularly involving the US and China. When compared with past Malaysian prime ministers, Anwar's economic performance appears robust. In the 1990s, under Mahathir and Anwar, Malaysia experienced extraordinary growth followed by crisis management. During the Abdullah Badawi, 2003 to 2009, and Najib Razak, 2009 to 2018, administrations, Malaysia's growth moderated to around 4 to 5%, occasionally disrupted by global shocks. Under Anwar's current tenure, Malaysia has seen stable growth averaging around 4 to 5% annually, despite global uncertainties. His approach to fiscal discipline, investment promotion, and targeted social support measures distinguish his leadership positively. Inflation rates remain lower under Anwar compared to periods of commodity boom under Najib's tenure. Fiscal deficits are gradually improving, and unemployment rates remain historically low. However, some structural challenges remain. Despite low absolute poverty levels, relative poverty and income inequality persist. His ambitious industrial strategies and subsidy rationalization have yet to fully demonstrate their long-term impacts. Anwar Ibrahim's economic management reflects pragmatic competence. Historically recognized for fiscal prudence and crisis management, his current term has seen strong foreign investment, manageable inflation, and steady economic growth. The cautious approach towards subsidy, rationalization, trade policy, and industrial upgrading strategies positions Malaysia positively for future challenges. Yet, declaring Anwar as Malaysia's unequivocally best economic manager requires acknowledgement of the complexity and ongoing nature of his policies. While early indicators such as record-high investment approvals and fiscal consolidation efforts are promising, the ultimate success of his policies in fostering sustainable, inclusive growth will be assessed over a longer timeframe. In conclusion, Anwar Ibrahim demonstrates strong economic stewardship, comparable to Malaysia's historically respected leaders. His leadership balances growth, fiscal discipline, and strategic planning effectively. Whether this solidifies his legacy as Malaysia's best economic manager remains to be fully determined by how effectively his strategies unfold in navigating future economic challenges.